Oh, Gammoth. Getting the short end of the stick once again, not appearing in a single game other than the one with your initial debut. No, Generations Ultimate doesn't count, it was the sequel. And neither does Stories 2 because it's a turn-based game. Being left behind while watching all three of your closest friends move on, joining the next generation, leaving you behind, and sadly, you will continue to be left behind. With the launch trailer of Monster Hunter Wilds out, we got our first look at the title update, and the first one happens to be Mizutsune. And since this announcement, I've seen quite a few people on Twitter disappointed that it was Mizutsune again and not Gammoth. But I believe Gammoth won't return in Wilds, even as a title update, or even in its G-Rank expansion, and here's why. May I add, no, I'm not a Gammoth hater. I actually really hope Gammoth returns. She was the first Fated 4 I was able to successfully take down back on the school bus in middle school. It felt so good, as it was my first Monster Hunter experience and I was really bad. Also, feel free to make an argument based off my argument why you think there is actually a chance, or even, if you're feeling daring, will return in Wilds. But I think if you hear my reasons, you too will be convinced Gammoth will not return in Wilds, or any future games. First, her size. To start with the elephant in the room, pun intended, she is huge. And also yes, according to the lore, every Gammoth you fight is in fact female. But the sheer size of Gammoth already makes it a lot harder for her to be able to put into the games, as the maps need to be able to house her inside without any possible, let's say, clipping or anything like that. Now yes, the maps in Wilds are much larger and livelier than ever, but so far we've only explored the Windward Plains, and from what I've seen in the gameplay of the Ice Shard Cliffs, well, each of the areas doesn't look like it could fit a Gammoth. However, they could just easily size her down, but I know fans will get disappointed, as, well, she's supposed to be a gigantic mammoth, hence the name Gammoth. But I don't think it's just her size stopping her from returning. I think it's also her skeleton. This one's a bit more of a stretch, but I promise you my next few reasons will be much more prominent on why I don't see her returning in Wilds or any other future game. Now back on the current topic, due to her size, she has a unique skeleton, and there are only one Gammoth total in the game. Yes, you could argue that there's a second one because of her deviant, but I don't think that counts because it was a Generations and Generations Ultimate exclusive gimmick. So they would, and this wouldn't be the first time they did this, but they would have to return an old skeleton just for one monster. Like I said, this isn't the first time they've done this. In Rise, the Temnocerans returned with Rachna Kadaki, and only Rachna, and that was until the expansion that they gave her a subspecies. I'm not saying her unique skeleton is negating her from returning, but I think the next point will be the nails in the coffin. I think it's the maps. But quickly before I continue, I'm working on a large video going through my Monster Hunter World randomizer, so if you find that interesting, why not like and subscribe? Anyways, back to the video. Yep, nothing to even do with her. And yes, the maps are bigger and more open than ever, like the Windward's Plains, but, and this is a big but, the Ice Shard Cliffs. Read the name again. Cliffs. And this can be supported with gameplay both from the trailers and from the recent content creators being able to play the almost final version of the game. The map isn't very open or flat. It has a lot of ledges and cliffs, something a gigantic mammoth wouldn't be able to climb or even get down from. Like, I don't see Gammoth jumping the same way Zinogre or Barioth can in order to get up or down cliffs. So that would already limit which areas Gammoth would be able to even go to easily. Also, a lot of the cliffs gameplay have been seen inside caves, and like I said earlier, those caves need to be big in order to be able to properly fit Gammoth within it. To be fair, we have yet to see the whole map, so maybe there are some large open areas that are smoothly connected for a mammoth to be able to easily walk between, so there's definitely still a chance, but I don't see it happening. Maybe, however, they could make a variant or subspecies without normal Gammoth. They did this with Valstrax in Monster Hunter Rise with Crimson Glow Valstrax, but that was a game made by the Portable team, and from what I know, and I could be wrong, they make the games more so for fun hunting and less for the realism to maintain, like the mainline team does. Again, I could be wrong. It could be like a sandy Gammoth like they did with Sand Barioth. Same monster, but new area and slightly different moveset. However, I do have one more reason to try to convince you why I think Gammoth will never return, ever. That being evolution. The series will continue to evolve and get bigger and bigger, which I'm 100% on board for. But unless they purposefully design an ice map based on the reasons I stated before, Gammoth will never return. She'll never fit. She'll never be able to cross the maps. She'll either be stuck between like 3 areas, or they'll have to add an elevator specifically for Gammoth in order to actually move around. Or make up an excuse for Gammoth to randomly become extremely agile and be able to jump up cliffs and walls just so it can traverse the locale. But I still hope that we can see Gammoth show up in the games again. It sucks that she's stuck in Generations and Generations Ultimate, but to be fair, those are great games. But most new players want to play the new games, not the older ones, no matter how good they are. And with Wilds about to release, people are going to want to play Wilds and not Generations or Generations Ultimate. So I still hope she returns at some point so people can actually experience the Fated 4 and not the Fated 3/4. Alright, so this is some postscript I decided to add after realizing, people might bring up the argument that Jin Dahad, the new Ice Apex, the size that he is, would be like, oh yeah, they should be able to fit Gammoth in because of how big he is. So I'm now adding this in separate because I didn't have it in the original script. But just because Jin Dahad is giant does not mean that Gammoth will fit. Jin is a Leviathan. He may be very large, but he's still able to traverse the area while remaining low to the ground and not having to worry about a gigantic woolly mammoth body getting in the way. As well as you can see in this footage, he's able to climb walls. But it's actually really interesting deep diving this footage, or diving deep into this footage, because you can see right before he puts his foot on the wall, he gets ice all over it so he can freeze it to the wall, and as soon as he's taking his other foot off the wall, the ice thaws or whatever. He gets rid of the ice so that it doesn't stick anymore. So he's basically forcing himself to stick to the wall instead of actually climbing with claws or anything, which I find really cool. Jin can easily traverse the cliffs, something Gammoth would never be able to do, especially since she's an elephant and not a mythical Leviathan ice guardian with ice abilities. I know I just repeated myself, but I will remain optimistic. If she is not added to this game, or even a title update, I really hope she's at least in the expansion, as it would feel weird as so far we're getting Mizitsune, and I don't know if we're going to get any of the other ones, but if we do, it's still no Gammoth. It's going to be super sucky, but I really hope we can see the Fated 4 together again, or I don't even care, just Gammoth. We don't need all 4 of them this time around, because the 3 of them were just in the last generation. But I really hope that she'll be able to return. Again, if you have any counter arguments or new arguments you'd like to bring up, feel free to tell me them and I'll hear you out in the comments. Thank you. Thank you all very much for watching and hearing me out on why I think Gammoth will never return. And like I said, if you want the counter argument, go ahead. I'll respond and I'll see, maybe you're right. But anyways, thank you for watching and have a good day and a good night.